All right, this is Unit 8.1, first section of the second semester. We're going to look at the roots of the Industrial Revolution, and this is going to take not too much time. There's not many roots. It is a small tree. So, the key questions we're going to look at, and I have these just listed on the slide here, describing the roots of the Industrial Revolution, and then what issues with the cottage industry in particular led to the need of the development of supervised labor. A lot of this in this section will be review. We're just kind of bringing it back so we can bring it into the context of how the Industrial Revolution develops. So, let's rock and roll. So first of all, what is the Industrial Revolution? What is it? Basically, a nice definition for you is the historical period in which machines began to replace human and animal power in the production and manufacturing of goods, meaning that now, for the first time, instead of a person or an animal dependent on the creation of a product, now machines are going to be able to, hence the idea of industry, and of course change being the revolution. So the big thing here, and the big thing to follow, is that you're going to see a huge transition in society, European society. Oh, that is an arrow, and that is not what I was supposed to do. So this arrow is going to fly away, up to the corner, go away. Goodbye. Oh, moved the screen. Don't want that. Here we go. So it's a transition, huge transition from an agricultural and commercial society into a modern industrial society. So what you're going to see over the course of this, and we'll talk more about it in 8.4, is that people are going to start focusing their lives around their work. And that work is going to be in the scope of industry and not so much agriculture. So in terms of a focus, agriculture is out. Okay, so agriculture is out, and we get to an industrial society based around commercial principles. So that's the Industrial Revolution in a nutshell. Then we look at, well, how did we get here? And we've already seen these steps. So all of this really is going to be reviewing things we've heard before. We looked at the Commercial Revolution, 200-year period of time in which economic growth in Europe changes and grows, brought on mostly by the establishing of, and Piper just walked in here and coughed and then left. So just to give you an update, it basically it was dependent on the creation of different colonies around the world, in which you set up an economic system based on trade. And, of course, with mercantilism, we see that as well. Now, we also saw the price revolution, in which higher prices, thanks to inflation, more wealth in the markets. With prices higher, producers now have more of an incentive to sell goods because they're going to get more money. So if prices go up, a producer is like, hey, if I get into this business, make a little money, here we go, right? I can make some cash. And then also the rise of capitalism, just as an economic system, which doesn't come in overnight, but the idea that a person can go into a business, put in some wealth, and be rewarded for his efforts. You have the developing middle class, the bourgeoisie, the B word comes in there as well. And then you also have to consider the scientific revolution making a play here as well, as you get the idea of inventions and creating a new product to help people out. So all these things that we talked about are going to set up an atmosphere of, if I work, I can make some money. I can develop something of myself. And these middle-class bourgeoisie, the merchants who set up these factories, have this perspective that if they go into this business, they can make some wealth and make a little bit better life for themselves. But I think probably the more prevalent route was the cottage industry. And again, that's something that we know and we've seen, so I'm not going to take a lot of time to describe it to you again. The process is there if you want to jot it down. But again, a merchant comes, drops off the product for the rural peasants to make in their homes, and the merchant comes back. Of course, we talked about the enclosure movement. The peasants need money, and they need to supplement their income because they can't work off the land as much anymore. So the solution, the merchants bring the materials, and you make the goods, and you sell them back to the merchants. Everyone goes home happy, right? No, that is totally wrong and incorrect. And look at this old woman here. She looks very mean. I wouldn't trust her. Okay, we talked about the problems, right? Is that labor's unorganized. So if I am having scarves made. I'm going to go to somebody's house and they're going to make me a scarf, but then, someone else has my supplies as well, and I got to go all the way across the farm and see them, and it's really hard to organize your labor. And then the quality of goods, say someone out there, you know who you are, you're listening, you're like, hey, I make a really good scarf, but then my jerk neighbor, he makes a terrible scarf. And the merchant just cannot control every aspect, okay? And you also have financial compensation. Someone took 2 weeks to make something, someone take 3, do you pay them the same? All these really problematic things. And the results, of course, of the cottage industry was great for the rural families, for the peasants. They could supplement their income. And it was good for the merchants to a degree, but the merchants decide and come to the idea that, hey, if I could get all my labor in one spot, if I could get them in one place, this might go a little bit better for me, might be a little easier. And thus, the creation of a factory. And then one thing, and I think we probably have gone over this before just as a review, you have the different, this is where the scientific revolution comes into play a little bit. You have the different pieces of technology that are put into the merchants' homes, or into the peasants' homes. Merchants provide these machines. But again, the merchant's going to decide, hey, if I could possibly get all of my workers into one place instead of going to their individual homes, then I could put all my machines in one place. Voila, I've got a place where I can control labor. I've got a place where I can control the diversification of goods. I've got a place where I can be the boss and I can maximize my profits and energies. And that is what is going to lead us to the Industrial Revolution. And that is the end of this section. I told you it'd be short and you were sad. They're like, 8.1, I don't want to do it, but now we're already done and you're on to 8.2. We'll see you later.